Hello, everybody, and welcome to Sitting with Sean, extraordinary episode number 6. Today, I have a pretty awesome guest. His name is Chad Pettit. What's up, Chad? How you doing, bud?
What's going on, Sean? Thanks for having me on.
Hey, thanks for being on, man. I really appreciate you being on, man, and taking the time out of your busy day because I know you're a busy ass man to sit and hang out with me for a second. So, everybody, a little bit about Chad. Chad's a teacher in Texas, and I really admire some of the work that he's done. We're going to go and talk about that here in a little bit. But he's also a TikTok creator, and that's how he came into my spotlight. And I was like, or how he came onto my radar, and I was just like, man, he's super awesome. I got to get him on the show. So once again, thank you. Chad, can you introduce yourself a little bit about who you are, what you do?
Sure. So I started out in the military right out of high school, maybe 12 days after high school. I went into the Army. I was in the infantry 10 years, 2 tours in Iraq. Also served in Korea, Kuwait before the war. So I did a lot of stuff, got to see a lot of places, did a lot of stupid stuff. And then after that, I bounced around quite a bit. I was a range worker. I tested fuel for the military. And then I moved away from military life completely, and I became a CNC machinist. So I operated a lathe in both Texas and North Carolina. That was pretty cool. So I was a shop factory worker, and then I decided I wanted to try something different. So I went back to school, and I was about 33, and I went for mechanical engineering. I suck at science and math, and so I fell apart in the first week. And talking to my wife, man, and I had this real Jesus come to Jesus moment. We're just going through the house, shutting everything down, man, for the night. And it was like, she's like, it's like you're forgetting you're a Christian. And that just hit me between the eyes. And I was like, well, you just go to bed. How about that? So I stayed up all night, and that just revolving in my head. I got up the next morning, I drove to the school, and I changed my major to English to pursue my passion. And I've been teaching English for the past 6 years. I jumped on TikTok during I don't know, after the quarantines and all that stuff. I didn't get on during the quarantine. So it was around 2021, mid 2021, just having fun. My wife is like, you'd kill TikTok. And I'm like, I don't even know what TikTok is, whatever. And so I avoided it, but I finally got on there, started playing around, and I started saying stuff that pissed people off, and I went viral.
Nice.
What are you going to do, man? And, I'd started doing funny stuff, and that wouldn't take off. And I'm like, so when I'm controversial, I go viral. When I'm just being myself, it's nothing. But then all the other stuff started picking up, and I started noticing how universal the problems teachers across the country are facing. I just speaking on my experiences, and teachers are resonating with it. They're like, this is exactly what my life is like. And I'm like, this is crazy. So, I somehow became like a voice for teachers, and man, so many teachers are afraid to speak up for themselves because they're afraid of getting fired or reprimanded. And I'm like, well, I've been shot at and had RPGs fired at me. What are you going to do, man? Come on. And I teach high school English. Like, you can't out roast me.
Right. Well, first off, man, I want to say I didn't know you were a vet, and as a vet myself, I want to thank you for your service and thank you for everything you've done for this country, brother.
Oh, man, no doubt.
I really do appreciate it.
It's my honor.
Yeah. So where were you stationed at?
I was stationed mostly at Fort Hood, also Fort Polk.
Okay.
I was in Camp Casey in Korea. And when I was in Iraq, I was all over the place. So I was in the green zone first time around. I was in the Najaf, Al Kut, Diwania. I went everywhere.
Gotcha. Yeah, I did 4 tours to Afghanistan myself, and I was in 173rd, 82nd, and then medically retired up here in 425. Now the 11th Infantry Brigade or division. I don't know. They repatched. It's terrible. Yeah. It breaks lineage, but hey, whatever. What are you going to do?
I was in 2nd ACR when we came back from Iraq. They stood down and went to Fort Lewis, and I guess they went mech or something like that. And I was standing down the unit, and well, this is weird. We just got done with combat, and we're standing down. We're one of the oldest brigades in the history, Civil War all the way through.
Yeah, I helped shut down 4th Brigade, 82nd, and that was where my third deployment was at, and I was just like, man, this sucks because we had, like you said, we just got back from Afghanistan and we had done great things down there, and next thing you know, it's like, well, we don't need you anymore.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's a weird feeling, man.
yeah, Fort Polk, man.
Yeah, that is the
That,
armpit of the military.
I, it's terrible. It is.
dude, dude, I was in Iraq for 15 months my first time. And
Mm,
I mean, no break, no R&R, nothing, just 15 months straight. We're flying,
wow,
and I'm not kidding, flying into Alexandria, and everybody on the plane was like, I mean, I'm happy to be back in the States, but
not
dang.
here. Yeah, I went down. I went down to JRTC one time, and I'm happy I never had to go do that shit again. That was absolutely terrible. It was an 82nd. They wanted to jump us into Polk to start our exercise out, which is cool, whatever. But there, I guess you guys were going through a hurricane or tsunami or some shit. I don't know what happens down there. What happens in Louisiana, but
Yeah,
whatever
a whole
happens
lot of
in Louisiana,
hurricanes, man.
yeah. There was something going on, and they almost jumped us into Fort Polk, and at the last minute they decided Alexandria, and thank God because it was terrible weather.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can tell,
man.
man, when you cross over from Texas to the Louisiana border, you just
Yeah.
start hitting potholes like crazy. It's the worst shit ever.
Oh, I've jumped into Texas before, and that was terrible. But I'm so glad I didn't have to jump into Polk, man. Like if I had to jump into Polk, I don't know where I would be.
Yeah, man. Stuck in a tree. You blink and you miss Fort Polk, man.
Right, right. It is small. It's pretty damn small. I also learned about them Louisiana fire ants, man.
Boy.
Oh
Yeah, that's
boy,
right. Yeah.
I tell you, I got scars still on my hand from them sons of bitches. Like we were
No joke.
doing, yeah, we started walking, man, and they were like, all right, we're gonna take a rest stop, and I sat down. It was fire ants all over my arms, all over my back. I was just like, what the fuck just happened? And like,
Yeah.
I was trying to man it up because you really can't, it's an exercise, you man it up. Next thing I know, man, I'm hallucinating that trees are walking.
You went down the rabbit hole.
Dude, the rabbit hole sucked me in, bro. And next thing I know, I'm like, oh fuck. And I'm like, Doc, dude, I don't feel so good. And he was like, okay, what's going on? I told him, and he was like, yeah, here, just take some Benadryl, go to sleep. That's the best sleep that I got in the whole army.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that one.
Man, that's what they gave me when I was in Iraq, and I had man, what is it? You get real bad dysentery. He just gave me some Benadryl, knocked me out for like 12 hours. It didn't work.
No, I bet it didn't.
No.
No. My arms swelled up to the size of like the Mickey Mouse glove. Like, I couldn't even take my glove off. That's how swollen my hand was, dude. It was insane.
Yeah,
Madness.
that's a rule. You don't put your hands down or sit down in Louisiana, man. Just don't do it.
No, hell no. And yeah, like I said, I still got scars. Like I when I first met my wife and my kids, I was like, "You see these scars?" And they're like, "Yeah." I was like, "I got bit by a bunch of fire ants," and they're like, "Oh yeah, that was dumb." I was like, "Yeah, I know. Let's not talk about that one."
Right.
Yeah. So, let's get into it, man. Like, why did you decide to become a teacher?
So I've always liked teaching. When I was in the military, teaching close quarters combat, stuff like that, doing exercises. I always loved training the soldiers. When I was in Korea, we got to go out for 30 days, man. And we were just out there. And it was a lot of times it was just, I was a mortarman, and it was just the mortars and this, the fire direction people, not the scouts. They weren't scouts, but they were just the fisters. And we're out there by ourselves, and like we got to do whatever we wanted, and it was great. And I love training people, and I love seeing when people get it right. So when I was in college, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. I wanted to write. I'm a writer. That's what I do. I like to write. I write fiction, poetry, anything. I'll just fill up a notebook just because I feel like it. That's how I deal with some of my emotions. But when I was in college, I'm thinking I'm going to be a writer. I'm sitting there and I was getting so frustrated because the professors are spending all their time teaching these high school graduates how to write. And I'm like, this should have been, they should already know this stuff. And like, I hadn't been in school in a long time. I was 33 when I went back to school, and I could write fiction, but academic writing I struggle with. And I didn't do so well on some assignments. So I did what our generation was taught, man. You go ask a librarian, you go ask somebody, you do some research, you figure it out, troubleshoot. Um, this generation's not being taught to troubleshoot. And so they're sitting there asking, they're like, give me a template. And they want a step-by-step template. And I'm like, this is just wrong, man. So I figured, well, if I'm going to sit here and complain about it, or I could go do something about it. And so I decided to take my skill set down to the high school level and do something about it. And when I got down there, I realized how bad it really is, and how much even your best efforts, man, it's still a struggle. You're trapped in this standardized testing system. You're trapped in the state run curriculum. And a lot of times you're told what to teach. Like it's a prescripted, you follow this script. I mean, straight up, there's a script, and they come in and they observe you and they mark off when you've went off script. It's not that bad for me, but a lot of teachers are locked into that box, man. And it's not authentic, because when you get to college, they don't want that kind of writing. When you get in the real world, they don't want that. Nobody writes like that, but they're just trying to pass that test, and those tests don't tell us anything. So it's been a frustrating struggle. I've tried to figure out how to prepare kids for beyond high school, whether it be college, whether it be the military. Because I tell my students straight up, your path is your path. You choose whichever way you want to go. I'm not one of those people that believes college is for everybody, because it's not. You have to decide, if your career path requires college, then you have to go to college. That's how the life works. But you don't need to be a college graduate for everything. But in everything, you're going to encounter writing.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
that's the really long version of why I became a teacher.
Hey, and I'm pretty sure that the Army writing is a whole lot different than college writing.
Whole lot different, man. Yeah.
And I always hated sitting down and having to write counselings, because then people come up and check up behind you and they're like, oh, you didn't word that correctly. Fuck.
Yeah. Those and the NCOERs and all that stuff, man, the awards. It was just, yeah. And it was different. And that's kind of writing I was kind of used to. Like, I hadn't really done any writing since getting out of the military. So I was used to mission briefs, debriefs, and writing for counselings and awards. And they're like, yeah, cut all of that out. And I'm like, okay, I got to figure it out, man. And so, yeah, but that's life experience, man. When you're exposed to a lot of different things, you pick up like how to adapt to different situations. And the military prepared me just to adapt to a different situation. So when the world keeps changing, like we hit lockdown and they said, don't come back to the campus. You're going totally virtual, and everybody's freaking out. And I'm like, you just roll with the punches, man. You adapt and overcome.
Yep. Yeah. And before then, you were talking about going out to the field for 30 days and hanging out. And I kind of, you hit a sweetheart with me, because I was a fister, and I was like, yep, Mortimer.
Yeah. Oh, we would have got along great, man. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They gave us ammunition. They gave us an open range in Korea. They said, here's your fister. You're in control. That was it. We got to do what we wanted.
No safety box, no nothing.
We had a safety box.
Oh.
And I fired out of it. But the fisters, they're okay. Let's meet on the ground. And so the fisters came and were like, hey, yeah, you fired out of the box. And I was like, yeah, I figured that's what that was about. And they were like, look, we don't want to stop training, so that's between us. And I'm like, all right, cool. So you hook each other up later, like buy you a beer or whatever. And that's just how fisters and mortars roll, man.
I'm going to say this like real quick. It is insane the amount of artillerymen, mortarmen, and fisters that I've met on TikTok.
Really?
Dead serious, no joke. Like, I like professional wrestling, so there's a huge community for that. And one of the big creators, like, he was like, he's seen one of my hats. I had my 173rd hat on. He was like, 173rd? I was like, yeah. He's like, huh. I was in, I don't remember what unit. I think he said that he was in 82nd somewhere. I was like, oh, that's awesome, man. I didn't know you're a vet. He's like, yeah, man, I was an artillery, man. I was like, no way. So like, yeah, it's insane to see the amount of 11 Charlies, 13 Bravos, 13 Foxes that they're on TikTok. It's
It is
crazy.
surprising. Well, I didn't even know that, but I've been surprised just in my civilian life because I remember being in North Carolina and on the way to work, just in the middle of nowhere, Rutherfordton. They don't even pronounce it. It's Rofton, North Carolina,
Yeah.
middle of nowhere. And I got pulled over because I was going, I don't know, 1,000 miles an hour late for work, whatever. And this county sheriff pulls me over, man. And deputy sheriff pulls me over and he sees my license, runs my stuff, comes back, and he's like, high angle hell. And I was like, death from above? And he said, you have a good one, bud. I'm like, what are the odds, man? Like,
Right. Right. And then like you hear some of those army sayings and you're like, wait a minute. You know something.
you know something. Yeah.
You know something you're not supposed to know, or you've been there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a guy that it was weird. I had a guy hit me up on private messenger. He's like, my dad. He well, first he was like, where were we at 173? I was like, yeah, 2nd Battalion, 503rd. And he's like, oh, okay, what company? I was like, battle company. He was like, oh, my dad, was a part of the Bravo Bulls, which is like the lineage of us. It goes back to like Vietnam, very prestigious company. And I was like, dude, shut up, no way. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to pick my dad. And I was like, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. Yeah, keep me posted on how your dad's doing. So yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. The vet community on TikTok is vast.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
I'm kind of stuck on the teacher side of TikTok no matter what I do.
Yeah, you are. You could try to get out of that, but you can't. You're there for the long haul, buddy.
It's flare pins and border walls. Like,
oh man. But yeah, dude, so like I admire the fact that not just that you served in the military and that, we're like the redheaded stepchildren, and like
yeah.
we're the long lost brothers. But the fact that you're a teacher and that you want to educate young soldiers, or sorry, not young soldiers, young human beings. I'm stuck on the young soldiers. Anyways,
they might become soldiers.
They could be. Because I myself, I loved being being a teacher of young soldiers. From the moment that I learned what it was to be a fister and that way of life. I always did my best to try and train people all the way up until I was a staff sergeant, until I was even in the training room. Dude, I was sitting in the training room waiting to medically retire. And I'd have young soldiers come in and say, hey, I made myself approachable. So they would always come in and say, hey, what's this? And I would say, oh, that's what that is. And we'd sit down and talk for hours. And I always admire the person that takes a moment to educate people and to teach them the right way and not just the way that's acceptable.
Yeah.
And I see you do that, man. And I see that I see that in all the work that you're doing. So I do want to take a moment and say I appreciate you taking a stance against education or with education reform, because it really needs to be done. There's a dumbing of the children that are being taught in high school.
Yeah, without a doubt, man. It's really frustrating and it's there's so much misinformation, and it's on all the sides, man. I don't take sides. And a guy like me to be accused of indoctrinating kids, I'm like, man, why don't you come talk to me? Come sit in my classroom. Wide open, man. You want to come see my classroom? You don't have to worry about putting a camera in my classroom. Come visit. No, I got nothing to hide. I'm not there to push an agenda, man. I'm there to push education, period. And my main goal is not to teach a particular thing. It's to promote critical thinking skills and teach them how to adapt to different situations, And I think that should be across the board. I teach English, and my primary focus is writing. I teach reading and everything else as well, but communication. So this is how you do your research. This is how you vet the sources, and you check and you run that line all the way down. You see where that information really came from. This is how you use that information properly. This is how the media is framing things. You see this, and we check all of it, like not just one source. Look how this one's framing it. Look how this one's framing it. And then communication. All right, you said this. Now here's how this person's going to interpret it. Okay, this person's saying this. What are they actually saying? and that stuff's just not taught, man. It's It's crazy to see politicians talking at each other. And I'm like, you're supposed to be like professional and rhetoric, and all you're doing is talking at each other. You say things in the public eye, and then it's like teachers have become the scapegoat for everybody. It's like we're like the toilet paper of the world right now. We're teaching them this and we're teaching them that. And I had somebody come had the nerve to come into my comment section and say it's people like me that created the monster who shot up those kids in Uvalde, Texas.
What?
That's where we are as teachers. That's what we're being accused of. I created that monster. Teachers.
There's so much more to that than a very blind statement.
Yeah, and man, I posted a video that I could not have been more non-political after the shooting, and saying, look, you've got to stop bashing teachers and expecting behavior problems not to happen. You've got to stop making this political. Every time a shooting happens, it's politics on both sides. It's Republicans screaming this, it's Democrats screaming that. Stop. These are bodies, and people came into my comment sections and they accused me of being a liberal. I'm not. They accused me of, I got simultaneously accused of voting for Biden, not voting.
Wow.
Who are you people? Like, none of you know me, man. But I got called all sorts of stuff just because a teacher spoke up about the situation. We can't say anything without getting severely attacked, man. And I'm like, that stuff does weigh on you. You never get to the point where you're like, well, I'm not human anymore. Of course it's going to bother me. And people say, oh, haters going to hate. Well, when you have viral videos, back-to-back viral videos, and I'm not bragging, I'm saying they're back-to-back viral videos, and you're having a flood of comments and people calling you these names and bashing teachers left and right, it starts to weigh on you. And that's what we're up against on one side. On the other side, you got people that are trying to and I shouldn't say side, but they make one hand. You've got people that are really just pushing the standard education. And so they pushed out wood shop, and they've pushed out the arts, and they pushed out a lot of the stuff that made school fun. And we're no focus on the trades. It's just, what do we need to pass the tests? Let's focus on this and that. And they've allocated all the stuff toward just the tests. The money goes towards the textbooks that don't help them pass, and the scores aren't going anywhere. They're still the same. We're still not doing well on the tests. So, well, let's create more tests. And now let's assess the teachers. Let's start getting rid of the teachers. And eventually you just have this system where the kids are stuck. And I'm like, do you want a system that creates a bunch of factory workers? Because that's not the world we have outside anymore. That worked in 1910. That's not the world we live in anymore. We need people that can go from high school into the military, from high school into college, into firefighting, into law enforcement, into public service and construction and all the other things. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I'm getting a little preachy here, man.
No, go for it. Go for it. This is I enjoy this. I like listening to you, man.
Yeah. So that's the other hand. On the one hand, we're the scapegoat for every politician that's got an agenda, and we're just being lambasted for votes by those bastards. And on one hand, we've got people pushing standardized education, because guess what? People get money off of those tests. Yeah. It's not us. Let me tell you that right now. And then all the attacks, they come in, and then we have the pandemic, and people don't realize what it does to a person to be stuck in a room by yourself for 12 hours a day, and then all of a sudden be back around people. You're in that room by yourself 12 hours a day for a year, 2 years, and then all of a sudden you're back in a school. And you've been telling those kids, teachers don't know anything, teachers are indoctrinating you, teachers are this, teachers are that, they're the problem. And that's what's all over the media. And then you walk back into the school, and there we go. And we've made it all about race. We've divided the country up so bad. And so here comes this kid who walks in and, oh, my teacher doesn't look like me. That's another problem. And so it's just problem after problem after problem. And these kids fire off saying words like triggered and that's racist, like it's candy coming out of their mouth, and they don't even know what they're talking about. And as soon as you say something, you're sued, you're on CNN. And that's what teaching in 2020, 22 is like. And the great resignation of teachers leaving, that's why. That's why. And somebody's got to start saying enough is enough. You're losing your best and your brightest. Because of what? Some
Yeah.
some agenda?
Hmm. And that's why I will never blame a teacher. And I'm saying that from a standpoint of being a parent. I will never blame a teacher for what's going on in the education system, because outside of teachers that don't do anything, um, I will never blame a teacher. I had, my oldest, some things happen at school, and I had to go into the class and talk to the teacher, and I thanked her for calling me and telling me, because like, had I not known, it would have never come out. And had the
Mm-hmm.
teacher never called me, it would never have come out. I mean, that's not the first time that she's called me on something, and it probably wouldn't have been the last if she was her teacher for an extended period of time. Um, but you guys, teachers and get so much flack. You guys get pretty much decimated for no reason, and it's
Mm-hmm.
terrible. Because
Yeah.
the one thing I've noticed is that teachers are held accountable for teaching the kids, but the parents aren't teaching them those additional skills that they need.
Mm-hmm.
The parents are teaching the kids that it's okay to talk back to your teacher because you need to have a voice. Dude, if I would have talked back to my teacher in high school, I would have gotten rocked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I would have gotten home, my dad would have rocked my shit.
Yeah.
And now parents are teaching their kids, stand up for yourself, in school. Your place is not to stand up for yourself in a classroom. Your place is to learn. That
Yeah.
is your place. And you were talking about the standardized testing, man, and it's creating, uh, you know, looking at my children, it's creating like an unneeded stress on the children.
Oh my gosh, man. The anxiety is ridiculous, man.
Dude, yeah, my kid was like, I have to prepare. My kid said I have to prepare for 2 weeks for this test because it's a big test. And I was like, okay. She's in 6th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you shouldn't be worrying about a fucking standardized test right now. You should be worrying about enjoying yourself as a kid.
Yeah.
Because what is that standardized test going to do? Tell you that you're among this age, this bracket of intelligence?
But it does
You
nothing, man. It does
It doesn't.
nothing. We don't get the information until they're gone. There's nothing we can do with it.
Yeah.
And okay, so I could take the information from the previous year, but I teach a different subject at a different level. They've matured 2.5 months, or not matured in the past 2.5 months. No telling what's happened over the summer. No telling what kind of trauma has occurred. But man, somebody should really do a study and figure it out, because 2001, that's when you had No Child Left Behind, and there was a big push for standardized testing because of that. So
Yeah.
somebody should really do a study and see what the rates of the increase of anxiety has been in the population between 2001 and now. Because I don't know about you, but to me, it seems like, and I don't want to go too far with this because, like I said, somebody needs to do the study. But it seems like to me, the cases of anxiety, disorder, panic attacks, PTSD, and people not able to deal with the trauma are increased. And what I see in the schools every day are kids throwing up, vomiting, going home, running down the hallways, freaking out over a stupid test that
Yeah.
in the state of Texas, you don't even need it to pass my course. I teach English. You don't need to pass the English test to pass my course. You need it to graduate. But guess what? Somebody can waive it. Your parents can say, I don't want my students to take that test. And now you got a waiver. It's the most meaningless test in the world, and people are making money. It's a giant scam. And all it's doing is increasing anxiety. I watch my own kids go through it. I watch these students go through it, and somebody's got to put a stop to it, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And it seems like you're the man to take the stand. I
People
do
don't think I'm
appreciate that.
people don't think I've got a shot in the dark, and maybe I don't, whatever, but that's my mission, and it's in front of me. And you know you shouldn't have got a soldier involved, because people came into my comments and said it'll never happen. And like, well, you mess with the wrong one, man. I'm not going to back
Yeah.
down. So put me in front of whoever I need to talk to. um and I'm still going to make sure my students are prepared, because in the meantime, that test is still there.
Yeah.
But I'm never going to teach to a test. I
Yeah.
refuse. The day they force me to teach to a test is the day I walk off the job. It won't
Yeah.
happen. And my
See
students
the
score above everybody else in the state of Texas.
see the one thing that I do I hate is when somebody says you can't.
Yeah.
Like you're not physically capable of blank. Is there, and my next question when somebody says that, I said, my next two questions are, is there a chance? Like is there a chance that it could happen? Well, yeah. Okay. Is there hope? Well, yeah. Don't tell me I can't do it.
Exactly.
Don't tell me I
Exactly.
can't do it. Watch me. Watch me.
Hmm.
And that goes for for me in my life and my professional. I was told I would never be an NCO. I was straight up told you'll never be an NCO. And I said, is there hope? Yeah. And I asked myself that. I said, is there hope? Yeah. Do I have to mature? Absolutely. Okay. Well, watch me. And when I got pinned staff sergeant, I straight up looked at, my first sergeant said, give a speech. And I said, I'd like to thank nobody because nobody helped me get there but me.
Hmm.
And it
Yeah.
created a lot of controversy, but I said, nobody helped me get there. I prepared myself for the board, for both boards. I prepared my own uniform. Nobody did my measurements, nothing. I shined my own boots. Uh, I, I, I had a team that supported me as far as like a few soldiers that supported me.
Hmm.
But without them, I wouldn't be able to do my job.
Yep.
So like I was like, nobody got me here. I got myself here. And so, when I see you take that stance and you say, and hypothetically you say, um, is there a chance? Is there hope? Okay, well, watch me. And that's what I love. That's what I love to see is the fighting spirit.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, do I realize I'm shooting an arrow at the sun? Yeah, I do. But here's the thing. I graduated before 2001. I graduated in 98. We didn't take these standardized tests. There was a world that existed prior to that. And this Mandela effect that's washed over the population, everybody thinks you have to write a 5-paragraph essay and you have to take multiple choice. Guess what? We're one of the few countries that's doing that garbage, man. You go to Finland, they're not taking multiple choice quizzes. You have to know the answer or you fail.
Yeah.
And you get to be creative and you get to explore the things you're interested in. This system is creating this thing where the now a college degree is almost meaningless because so many people have them. It was never meant to be that way. Like I said earlier, not everybody needs to go to college. And if you keep judging a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it's going to fail every time.
Yeah.
And that's all these standardized tests are. And they're not fair in any kind of way. You've got a person who can barely speak English taking a test that's 100% English and they don't get accommodations to help them understand. And you put them on a time step. Well, we'll give them an extra hour. What good is that going to do? And how do you really measure somebody's writing based on one time situation? That's not authentic writing. That's not how professionals do it. These tests are unrealistic. They're nothing like that. Case in point, to become a certified English teacher, I had to take a test that was 100 questions and 2 essays. I had to complete that in 5 hours, 100 multiple choice questions and 2 essays based on some prompts that I had to read and some text that I had to read. Here's the problem with that. By the time you get done with those 100 questions, you're completely burnt out mentally. Now you have to write 2 essay questions or 2 essays,
Mhm.
right? But going back, those multiple choice questions are based on the premise that you are in a perfect world. You have all the resources available to you. There are no issues. Money's no limit. You have all the support you need. Not in the real world. So everything I answer on that test, I'm answering only for that test because I cannot take those answers and apply them in my classroom. Because little Johnny didn't come from a 3-car garage with a mom and a dad and a little dog and a cat and brothers and sisters in a perfect uh he's got an investment waiting for him. No, most of the kids I teach have a single mom or a single dad. They got a deployed father or a deceased father. I teach kids that are dyslexic, kids that are overcoming trauma. They've been molested. They're homeless. Kids that are living out of their car. And you want me to apply that perfect world scenario to them? So then you come to the end of that multiple choice scenario, 100 questions that are completely pointless. And then you have to write these 2 essays, but you're fried. And so I won writing awards in college. I'm a published author. I'm a published poet. I have won all sorts of awards in writing, been recognized for my writing. And they said my writing needed improvement based on that test. That test is garbage, man. Do you know how many potential
Wow.
teachers did not make it into the field because they couldn't pass a test? But they could have been amazing teachers. It's those stupid tests that don't measure anything.
Yeah. That's insane.
It is. It is. It's a scam, man, and somebody's making money. And that's why, me personally, this is about as political as I'll get. They need to get rid of all PACs, especially the super PACs, because nobody should have a control over the politician. Nobody should be able to sway a politician with money.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's wrong. And I mean, when you have a convention sponsored, Democrat or Republican, you have sponsored by all these groups and organizations. Well, of course, you're not going to upset them. So they're not representing their constituents anymore. They're representing the PACs. They're representing the lobbyists. And if the lobbyists say we want these standardized tests because we just happen to have money invested in Pearson and College Board, well, of course, we're going to keep those tests going. And that's garbage. Yeah. Who's hurt? The students. And who's ultimately hurt? America.
Yeah. How is the reception of all this to the parents of the teachers or the parents of the students?
Most parents I've met, none of them agree with standardized testing when you talk to them individually. I've never met a teacher that likes standardized testing. The students hate it. So when I started coming out on TikTok saying, we want to put an end to standardized testing, that wasn't something that, I haven't voiced it at the district. I don't announce it like, hey, go check out my TikTok. Potentially I could get backlash for that. And potentially they could decide, hey, you need to either tone it down or find another place of employment. That's a possibility. That hasn't happened. My administrators currently follow me. They're aware of what I'm doing on TikTok. Teacher response has been really amazing. And a lot of parents come into my comments all the time and they say, please do what you do. I've got a petition on my website and it's I don't know, around 1,000 signatures or so. We need way, way, way more than that, obviously, because I'm trying to get to Washington. But, I can only do so much by myself. So trying to get the movement going, but it's stirred some things up. So a lot more teachers are speaking out against standardized testing on TikTok. And I'm not saying I'm the catalyst. People were speaking out before that. But people are tagging me in a lot of videos where people are talking about it. And I think if we as a nation could come together on one thing, we could come together on this, that people are making money off of our kids. I don't care if you're a Republican, Democrat. I don't care if you support Biden, Trump, Clinton, or a goldfish. All of us can agree that our kids deserve a quality education. And what we're not going to do is come to an agreement on private or public, but we can all agree that these standardized tests are pointless. And the only people profiting are people that are at those testing companies.
Absolutely. And it's terrible the way that you're treated, by people outside sources, and people that really don't understand exactly what you're trying to do. Mm-hmm. And you said it, come sit in my room, come sit in my classroom, understand it. Yeah. And that's the thing. People, and I'm sorry for saying this, people talk shit, but when it comes time to actually, sit down and look at it, they won't, because they don't want to be proven wrong.
Oh, exactly. Look, Sean, hear me out on this one. Okay. So we need to put body cams on teachers. Look, man, I might offend some of my followers, but I call bullshit. And here's why. Because for a year, 2 years, we had virtual learning. You got to see everything I was doing in my classroom. And every time we bring that up, well, you're teaching CRT. You don't even know what CRT is. Don't come at me with that. If you can define critical race theory for me and you can explain to me and you can show me evidence that I'm teaching it in my classroom, go for it. But in 2 years, you had access to my classroom and you didn't get to see that because it wasn't there. Yeah. But now you're telling me I need a body cam? You don't want that. You're just trying to shut down public education. Just come out and say it, man. Don't Wizard of Oz me. Don't stand behind your curtain and your smoke and your mirror. Come out, be honest about it. You want to shut down public education. You want to promote private education. And who's that going to hurt? That's going to hurt the people below the poverty line. That's going to hurt the average American citizen. We got this big lie that just keeps getting pushed nationwide, man. I'm getting political on that as well. But you know what? Who keeps getting hurt in the middle of all this? The working class, man. The blue collar workers, middle class. We're the ones that keep taking the brunt of everything. They keep raising our taxes, and we're the ones that keep supporting tax hikes. We're the ones, yeah, go for it, support this guy. Man, you do realize these Republicans and these Democrats that stand there and grandstand on these stages, go have dinner afterwards together and laugh at us? Mm-hmm. The best tactic in the world is get the people to fight amongst themselves. And if you repeat a lie long enough, people will believe it. Man, it goes all the way back to Hitler, Mussolini, go all the way back in time. The Romans, you repeat a lie long enough, people will believe it. Mm-hmm. And that's what's happening. All you got to do is come out and say teachers are teaching critical race theory over and over and over and over again. You've got no evidence. You can't prove it. And they'll just keep saying it. Get Tucker Carlson to say it. Get Sean Hannity to say it. And everybody believes it. And now I say that, oh, he's a liberal. I'm not. Just come meet the people in my life and ask them if I'm a liberal. They will tell you that guy. No.
You're just proving a point.
I'm just proving a point, man. Come talk to me. I had a guy at my church. We need to get all those teachers out of those schools teaching critical race theory. I called them out on it. I said, we don't teach critical race theory in K-12 schools. Mm-hmm. That's something that lawyers do. Advanced English majors in college deal with critical race theory as a way of studying a particular thing. And then lawyers, but K-12 schools, we're not doing that, man. Just because we have books that are written by black and brown people doesn't mean we're teaching critical race theory. Hey, buddy, your racism is showing. You might want to tuck that in.
Yeah.
And that's what it is, man. And I called him out on it, and he tried to, all he did was the typical thing. He just switched the subject. I'm like, man, I'm in the same church as you. I sit in the same preaching. I believe the same things as you. And you're going to stand here and tell me that that's what we're doing in schools? Like I'm not standing in your face. And he's like, whoa. Then he starts talking some garbage about cell phones. And he's like, we need to get those cell phones out of school. And I said, as soon as we do that, then you'll blame us for not teaching the media responsibility. What else do you want to blame us for, man? We're not the downfall. Blame the home. Blame way more than that. Are there bad teachers? Sure. But actually get involved in your community. You want to make a change? Get on the school board. Be in the PTA. Actually be involved. Go to the school board meetings. And don't rant and rave at the school board meetings. Listen. Check your students' homework when they come home to school. If I can't get parents to answer their emails half the time, do you want to tell me what I'm teaching? And then when I do get a hold of them, oh, well, could you send me all that work? Well, I thought you knew what I was teaching.
Yeah.
It's just when you call people out, man, all of a sudden it's a different story. You know, everybody's big and bad until you stand up. And that's the problem. Nobody's willing to stand up because teachers, as soon as they do, they get knocked down. They get fired. A teacher in Florida, she did a TikTok where she was doing like a lip sync thing. And she was in her classroom. Now, she shouldn't have done this in her classroom. That's just, you have to understand the boundaries, right? She was in her classroom. Yeah. No students were in there. She's doing a lip sync video and the B word was in there. So she lip synced and said, bitch. Mm-hmm. She lost her job.
What?
Over that.
Wow.
Now, a politician comes out sending inappropriate pictures to women or getting exposed for having an affair and a whole family on the side. He comes out, issues an apology that's about as canned as possible and runs for re-election. Why is a teacher held to a higher standard than the people that are supposed to be leading our government and shaping our policy? Are you kidding me, man? And all teachers do is stand there and say, hey guys, here's the news. I'm just telling you, here it is. And somebody says, see, they're pushing an agenda. And it doesn't matter. I could say, here's Fox News, here's CNN, here's OAN, here's NBC, MSNBC. I could lay them all out, which I do. And they, you're framing it. Oh my God, man. I give up on this country sometimes, but I've refused to give up on it because I fought for your right to be that stupid. And I'm going to continue to defend your right to be that stupid. And you know what? When your kid walks into my classroom, I'm going to treat that child as absolutely like my own. I'm going to love that kid, and there's going to be nothing between us. And if I end up in a parent-teacher conference with you, everything's going to be professional. I'm going to treat you with the utmost respect, even though I know you're bashing me. This is what it is, man.
You can't win for losing, dude.
Not at all.
And that's...
I did not mean to get this heated, man.
Hey, no, this is your platform. It's... Hey, I'm just a catalyst. I'm just a catalyst for what needs to be said sometimes, you know?
That was therapeutic, man.
Yeah, and that's what coming on the show does. It opens up. I just one of my guests in one of my episodes that's about to come out. He's a vet too. He was an Apache pilot. Not taking anything away from this conversation,
Mhm.
but he started up a Facebook group to support people that are having suicidal ideations and suicidal attempts. And before then, he texted me. He's a good buddy of mine. He's like, "Hey, man, I want to get on your show, but I don't know," and blah blah blah. I was like, "Hey, man, no worries." And he got on the show and he opened up and just let it all out. And then on the back end, like he was thinking about stepping away from that and just focusing on his life. And at the end of it, I said, "Hey, man, you ready to get back on that horse? You ready to do it?" And he's like, "Fuck yeah, let's do it." That's what it's about. It's about
Yeah.
opening up that doorway and just letting it go.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you brought that up because that's something I deal with too. Uh, People have seen some of my TikToks and like the PTSD, they don't realize the context of that is from the military, from
Yeah,
my combat tours, and other things, man. Just compile. And but what I realize is there's this intersection of trauma that teachers have dealt with and students, and I never want to broad brush that. Students have been traumatized. Like I said, you got that kid's been sitting in that room 12 hours a day, several days a week, isolated. Parents are gone, and they're just staring at a computer screen or a phone doing their homework or whatever. And then all of a sudden they're back around people. It is traumatizing, man. When you're alone with your thoughts, that's a dangerous time. And some of
yeah,
these kids had never been through a hard time. I talked with one kid on the phone. The parent asked me to call, and I'm on the phone with this kid for like 20 minutes. She's like, "Mr. Pettit, I've never had a bad day, but now I'm fighting depression and I'm thinking about like suicide." I'm like, and that's, as a person who has had suicidal thoughts, as a person who has been through PTSD and hid it for 15 years to the point where it was worse. And now I'm in therapy through the VA. I'm like, enough is enough, man. We've got to talk about it. We've got to talk
yeah,
about it. And if I got to be the one of the few that is willing to put himself out there and say, look, I've got trauma. I'm a combat veteran. I got a beard. I have grown children. If you want to call me the P word, go for it, man. But the reality is you can't man up your way through mental health issues. Mental health is health.
yeah. And that's why I've got this certificate right here. I'm a peer support specialist.
Yeah,
So
man, and I really appreciate the work you're doing. That's how
thank you.
we met, actually,
Yeah.
through you just doing that. Will you sit with me? And I was like, man, this guy gets it. This guy gets it.
Well, man, I'll tell you a little backstory on that, man. So I jumped on TikTok. I hated TikTok because I seen a lot of the nasty shit that was coming out of TikTok, man. But I sit and I play video games, and my wife would watch behind me, and She watched a video where somebody had lost their husband from addiction. And at this point, like I had already been deep enough into my recovery and deep enough into the peer support stuff where I was like, maybe I can do some good. So I jumped on TikTok, started making stuff, and it was just all informational stuff, like talks about different forms of relapse, different forms of trauma, stuff like that. And then one day I was just like, man, I feel really fucking lonely, and dude, like it's a lonely place.
Hmm.
And I made that "Sit With Me" video, and it blew up over the weekend. And the response was insane. I mean, obviously I got some nasty comments, but that's not what it's
Yeah,
about. What it wasn't for me, it was for everybody else. And it was meant to be like, you're not the only person that's feeling like this,
right.
and as a matter of fact, there's a lot of fucking people, and I didn't realize there's a lot of people that are feeling that
A
way.
lot of people, man.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
and it's we're kind of taking it on two different fronts. Because I'm realizing there's a lot I get all the time, man. Students coming into my comments, um, and I'll do some videos sometimes where I'm just kind of talking into the camera. I'm inspired by Kevin Lawson. He's an
Mhm.
awesome creator on TikTok, and I follow him. And he does these videos where he's just giving a motivational speech into the camera, and I'm like, I want to do that for teachers and students because I had all these people come on one of my videos and saying, "Would you be my teacher? Would you be my teacher?" And I'm like, "Well, I'll be your TikTok teacher."
Yeah.
And so I started making these videos talking to them, and teachers coming in my comments saying, "Teachers need to hear this too." And I'm starting to realize just how bad the trauma is and how many people are suffering. And I'm like, somebody's got to be willing to just put themselves out there. And a lot of people are. More people are coming forward. Our generation was taught wrong, man. We were taught you
Yeah.
don't talk about this stuff. And that's why so many people unalive themselves, man. And that's
Yeah.
we got to put a stop to it.
Oh yeah.
Whether the statistics are correct or not, there's debate. But the 22 a day veterans. What about firefighters and police officers, teachers, students? Man, it's if that doesn't hit you, if you're not hurt and wounded by the mass shootings and the suicides and the kids cutting themselves, I see this in the schools, man, the scars on their arms. How are you not wounded by this? And so it's, if I put myself out there, I had a panic attack in class, straight
Hmm.
up, straight up in class. And I told them what happened. And a student came to me and she said, knowing that an adult goes through what I'm going through gives me hope because
Hmm.
I see how you handle yourself, and it's okay to talk about it. And I just want to thank you for being willing to share that with us. And I was like, that's not what I was shooting for, but thank goodness,
Yeah.
and so that's what it is, man. We've got to be willing to put ourselves out there, and yeah, we're gonna get the nasty comments,
Mhm.
daily, man, daily. It is what it is.
Oh yeah. And the thing is, when you show people that you're human and that human side of you. I mean, because I know when I was a kid, look, I have a problem with authority figures. Not that I'm confrontational toward them, but I had an unhealthy fear of it because of my dad.
Hmm.
And and that's a story for another time. But I had an unhealthy respect for, or unhealthy fear for, authority figures. So teachers, principals, you name it. If they were an authority figure, I was like,
Yeah,
and I wasn't afforded that opportunity to see the human side of them at all. So, when you open up that human side and you show that human side to students, or something like that, you gain a different level of respect from your students, and that's awesome that you do that.
yeah. That's when things really turned around. Because man, this year I was one of those teachers who was ready to quit. You go from being the hero to being public enemy number one, and more paperwork piled on you, and more work and more work and more work and no respect, and you start just really feeling. And I had it good compared to most teachers, but I was just done, man. And
Yeah.
that stuff started to attack. I started having more and more anxiety attacks, and leaving work because the anxiety and the PTSD was making me physically ill. And just opening up about it, and students coming to me and feeling safe around me. Kids that just come to my room just to have lunch, and they're not having lunch with me. They just want somewhere to talk. I had a group of girls came into my room just to talk to each other and cry, and I'm just sitting in the corner like, I don't know what to do. I was just there like, this is your space. This is your
Yeah.
space. Pretend I'm not here. And that's when things really got to the point where I was like, no, I'm not going to buy into this lie. I love this job. I love this profession. I love these kids. And it's sad seeing them go every 4 years. Man, I love them. And people say that's wrong, that just teach them the material. You're not supposed to establish relationships. Come try it, man. You,
Yeah.
you're around these kids more than their parents in some cases. Um, and they care about you. You care about them. Uh, and it's just amazing to see who they become once they feel safe. And once
Yeah.
they feel safe, and you say, now I want you to explore some projects that you're interested in, and not try to control them and direct them, just show them how to become creative on their own, how to use their creative thinking, their critical thinking on their own. By the way, critical thinking is not a dirty word. Critical is not a
Yeah.
dirty word. But yeah, that's what it's about, man. And so I fell in love with teaching all over again. And that's when the videos started kind of shifting directions. And I'm like, I'm just really, people talk about branding. I am the brand. I'm just going to be myself on this app. And if it resonates with people, great. I'm just telling my story. And I just started really, I said, you know what? People are going to leave the profession. I understand it. But for those who don't want to leave, let's reclaim our hope. We're going to
Yeah.
start by reclaiming our breath. Pause. You can always reclaim your breath. Take a breath, reclaim your space, reclaim your voice, reclaim your hope, and now reclaim whatever you can one step at a time. And that's what my podcast is going to be coming out at the end of the summer is going to be all about, just reclaiming our place in education, not trying to take it back to what it was at some point in time, because I don't know if it was ever good, honestly, but just reclaiming our place and our joy and our hope that we can still make a difference.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And You mentioned it, and you said it before. The world has been in a wild place these past 2 years, two and a
Mm,
half, 3 years.
yeah, man.
Because the pandemic and going to education online and all that stuff. You know, I when my kids had to do online learning, uh, it was hard for them. And it was one of those things where they weren't doing so good, and it was because there was no human or interaction. There was very little interaction from the teachers outside of that time frame of when they were in school.
Yeah.
And it's not the teacher's fault whatsoever that there's little interaction. um, but the fact of the matter is they excelled when they got back to school.
Yep.
And that to me is amazing. And then being able to get back in, get them into school and interacting with their friends and the teachers is amazing. And they have a new respect for school. Like, they used to hate school.
Yeah.
I used to hate it. And then like we were like, hey, you guys go back, August, and they're like, yes,
Yeah.
like super excited. And I was like, I'm happy that you're happy. Now I
Yeah.
get a little bit of time to breathe when you guys go to
Right.
school.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
it's
It,
insane.
it is. It's surprising, man, to realize we're regardless of what you believe, we are people, we are designed or created or manifest, whatever you believe. I don't care. We're meant to be in community.
Yeah,
We're meant to be around other people. Nobody loves isolation. People can say that all they want, but you need human interaction. People say, well, no, I love being by myself, but you're watching a TV show with people in it.
yeah,
You, you need interaction. You're checking Facebook. No, I like being on my own. Then why are you on social media? Stop,
right.
man. We need community. It's very, very, very important. And I think that was one of the things that caused this rash of trauma that we're dealing with, is just the isolation and the lack of being around people. And that's such a big part of the school system. Uh, Kids in between classes in high school, they're coming in, Mr. Pettit, you got to hear this. Mr. Pettit, you got to check this out. Listen to what happened. And it comes, spill some tea, tell me what some kid in the hallway did, or what the latest girlfriend boyfriend drama is, or Mr. Pettit, you got any snacks or something like that. They need that, like, they need a release because they've been sitting in the chair for 85 minutes or 45 minutes, depending on the type of school they go to. And it's rush, rush, rush from class to class, onto the bus, home. Like, no, they need that time in the cafeteria to run. They're juniors and seniors in high school. They still need time to play, man. They still need time to cut up and laugh and joke. And I try to provide that in my class because we have a block schedule. It's an hour and a half per period. Like, there's got to be some time where you need to get up and move around. It's cool. I'm not going to bite your head off,
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
just don't start a basketball game without asking first.
Man, I have an adopted daughter. She's 17. She just graduated, and I wish that she had a teacher like you in her school, man. Like, completely 100% honest. Because a lot of her a lot of her teachers kind of shunned her off and really didn't give her
Mm,
the chance to be who she was,
it's
and
unfortunate.
not to mention her biological dad. I'm not going to get into that. I'm not about putting people down. um, but her biological dad kind of made life a little bit hard on her. And backstory: one day in January, this past January, dude, I got a knock on my door. Hey, I can't take care of her. She used to work with my wife on base here, and he said, Dad said I can't take care of her. I've got all of her stuff in the car.
Mm,
I went through that when I was a kid. I seen how broken she was, and I was like,
yeah.
yeah, come on, come on. She graduated. She still is with us. Actually, she was sitting down here. I have a futon down here, right next to my stuff, right next to my setup, and she's sitting down here and talking to one of her friends over the phone. And I was like, super happy because I get to see her flourish and become a productive member of society, and not just
Yep.
become this fucking robot of a human being that
Yeah, man. That's what
that
it's
we've been
that's what it's
creating.
about. And that is it, man. People don't realize some of these kids, the only time they get that is in school. And for 2 years they didn't have that. Some of those kids were going hungry. Some of those kids were in the things kids have told me, man, is how can you not? And I can't sit here and say I was always a compassionate teacher, because I was kind of a prick, man, to be honest with you. At the beginning, I got bad advice. I was told, um, okay, I'm an infantry soldier coming from a CNC lathe working factory, and now I'm a teacher in a school. Of course, I was rough around the edges. When people are like, "Don't smile until Thanksgiving," and be, here's what you got to do, and I had all this bad advice about be strict, 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 and I feel bad, man, and I wish I could see those kids and tell them, man, I'm sorry. A couple years in, I'm like, that's just not what I'm about. And now I'm the guy like, you come in my room and like, Mr. Pettit, are you even in control of this circus? I'm like, oh yeah, yeah. You need it
I
quiet?
got it.
Boom, I can get it quiet in 2 seconds. I'm in control. But
Yeah.
they're free and they feel safe and they're learning and everybody's happy. And that kid over there whose dad beat the crap out of him last night, he's on his phone right now because he's trying to cope. And that girl over there whose parents are going through a horrible divorce right now, um, she just kind of needs to be alone. And this kid, hey, he's walking around the hallways right now, pacing back and forth so that he doesn't punch somebody because his girlfriend just broke up with him and took the guy down the hallway. That's real life. These are real people. They're not freaking robots, man.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the biggest problems is like, the do what I said, do what I told you to do or else. Well, kids have emotions and they got
Mm-hmm.
feelings and they've got very real world problems that really affect them in manners in which we as adults don't understand because we're adults and they're kids and times have changed.
Yep, definitely. Yeah, absolutely. But we know what it's like to be going through those hormonal shifts and in a different time. Obviously, like you said, times have definitely changed. But people are like, we got these kids in their language. Are you kidding me? Like we didn't have bad language in high school. These kids and their drugs. Come on, man, and the alcohol. And like we did all the stuff these kids are doing, man. We kids have not stopped being kids. All
Yeah.
right. Um, and you look at the amount of adults that are doing that. New kids these days, stop, stop.
Yeah.
Adults these days, that's the real problem. These kids are very respectful to me, but the adults, whoo,
Yeah.
different.
Different beast in its own.
Yep.
Man, that's insane. Well, Chad, if there was any advice that you would give to parents or teachers that are sitting here and might hear this, might see this, and they want to help out, they want to vocalize themselves, what would you say?
So for parents, go to that school, talk to those teachers, ask what they are going through, ask what they need, and don't ask like as a gotcha, but really try to find out and then react appropriately. Um, don't go in with an agenda because they might just need to be left alone or they might really need some help. I don't know what they need. But I think that's where it starts. Parents have real conversations with teachers. Whether you agree with the school system or not, if we can all just learn to talk to each other again civilly without the media controlling the conversation, things are going to get better. And for teachers, this profession is still worth it. It is just a job at times. To me, it's a calling, but it's also a job. I know where to draw the lines. I leave work at work. Uh, but when I'm there, I'm fully in, and most of you are too. At the same time, well, you got to have the boundaries. If you feel like it's your time to walk away, I respect that. I understand. But if you feel like it's not, or if you're on the fence, reclaim your hope first. Reclaim your hope and see why you're really leaving, and weigh it out and see what it's worth. For students, this is temporary. This moment is temporary. This moment feels like forever because everything bad always feels like forever. And you feel like you're the only one going through it. But the reality is, all of you are going through it. And to politicians, please, no more partisan lines. Find the common ground. Let's stop letting the media control us. Stop letting the lobbyists control us. Please, if you are a person who has an influence over legislation, please come together. I don't mean kumbaya. I mean put America first. Put your constituents first. That's all I got, man.
Well, this is the part of the show I didn't tell you about.
Okay.
It's it always, when I say that, everyone's like, "What?" So this is the part of my show that I don't tell anybody about, and it's where I get to vocalize why I appreciate you.
Okay.
And I do this because people don't get appreciated, and because people have a hard time taking compliments and really sitting there and sitting with them and showing and seeing that they are appreciated. So, you ready for it?
Very awkward. Go for it.
All right. I know. It's always awkward when you start to give people, when people start to get those compliments. But first, I want to say that I respect the shit out of you for everything that you have done in your life. I respect you for being in the military and volunteering to be that 1% of the United States that volunteers their time and their body and their mind to the military and to making sure that our future is guaranteed. So I want to take a moment to thank you for that, because like you said, it's less, or like I said, it's less than 1% of us that actually do that. And then I want to take a second to thank you for not just settling for something. You know, you could have continued to be that lathe worker and been like, oh, this is just life. This is just the way it is. I have to go to work. I have to go to work. I have to go to work. But you chose to be an educational um, facet in this country, which we need so badly. We need people to continue to educate our children and to care about the children, not just care about making a paycheck, or not just care about this is my place in the world, but you care legitimately about the children of our country and the future of our country. And through this, it even shows even more how passionate you are about being a teacher. And I appreciate that you don't want to settle for this is how it is, this is how it has to be. You are fighting hard to for creativity. You're fighting hard for legitimate education, not just statistic based education. And I appreciate that so much. And I appreciate you for being a human being, and for having that compassion for everybody around you, even the people that are nasty as hell towards you. You're still compassionate, and you still show that compassion toward other people, and that's very hard to find. So I want to thank you for being an awesome human being, being an amazing human being, and being extraordinary.
Thank you very much. That's humbling. It is awkward to receive, but I appreciate it, and I know you spoke from your heart just now, and I can say this 100% for sure, and I think you agree. Like, I feel like I just made a brother, um,
Yeah.
for life, man, and you know, tied, fisters and mortars, we're always going to be there,
Yeah.
but seeing eye to eye on things, and seeing beyond the red tape and the bureaucracy, and just seeing the heart of our country, and seeing what's really needed, and caring about people, and caring enough to try to do something about it, I think is what is going to be something that strongly unites us. And so, day or night, I'm there if you need me, brother.
Always, same here. I'm always here if you need me, dude. If there's some shit going on that you just need to talk about, I'm always here.
I appreciate it.
No problem. No problem. All right, guys. So, Chad, where can we find you? Where can we find you? Not literally, but online. Where can we find you to support your cause?
He'll be at the Walmart at 3 p.m. No, yeah. So chadpettit.com, man. I got everything is linked up there. I'm that teacher guy on TikTok, Chad_Pettit1 on Twitter and Instagram. But if you forget all that, chadpettit.com, just Google my name if you want to. It'll take you to my website, and I've got all the links there. Um, please sign my petition to end standardized testing. I've got a mail-in list. I've got free resources for teachers I'm working on. I'm building more and more and more stuff to help people out as I can. I'm a busy guy, but yeah, that's where you can find me.
Absolutely, yeah. And if you forget his face, he's got an amazing beard. So that's that's the first thing. Like when I was searching you up, I was like, boom, boom, boom. There's the picture of his beard. That's him.
Gotta have the beard. Yours is impressively long, my friend.
Thank you. Yeah, it's down to my sternum. It's actually going past my sternum now. So
Nice.
yeah. I take pride in this because if I shaved, people would forget my face. But you can't forget a long beard.
You can't. No, for sure.
No, I have a very forgettable face. But with the beard, it's very unforgettable.
Well, I've had the beard so long, I forgot what I look like under here, so mine's forgettable too.
I say actually, when I started my recovery, I was like in one of these positions where I was like, I need a change, and I was like kind of emotional at the time, like just wide range of emotions. Like I need a change, and I had these clippers in my hand, and I was like, what's going, the head of hair or the face of hair? Because I had like a beard down to here. It was about a year after I got out, and I was like, fuck it, the beard's going, and I shaved it off, like literally just vroom.
Ugh.
And my wife walked in the bathroom and cried instantly. And she was like, never shave again.
Yeah.
And I said, I promise I won't. And yeah, so it's 2.5 years old.
Yeah. If I shaved mine, they wouldn't be able to find the body. My wife would kill me. People are like, how's your wife put up with that? I'm like, kidding me? She loves this thing.
Right. Everybody's like, your wife must hate your beard. I'm like, no, she fully supports it. It actually tells me not to shave it. So it's not going nowhere.
Same, bro. Same.
Yeah. It's getting to the point where I can start braiding it, and I'm trying to have my my daughter look up stuff like videos to start braiding my beard.
Yeah. And my students had me put Christmas lights in mine this year.
Nice. I dressed up like Santa Claus actually for Christmas.
I see. Perfect.
Yeah. And except for I didn't have the big belly. Everybody was like, oh, Santa Claus. I was like, yeah, but Santa's on a diet this year.
It's the healthy Santa. He's gluten free.
Yeah. Santa's on keto. Okay.
Yeah, we get along great, man.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. So that is our show. I want to thank Chad for being here and hanging out with me for a little bit and being just an amazing human being. I want to thank you guys for taking the moment to watch this podcast. And you guys have a very blessed day, and you are extraordinary. Thank you. Bye.